Hey, it's Midnight Raven, and today we're doing part 2 of my Lovers Lane Slayings murder case. I can't get my book to go right. If you're new, welcome to the channel. I am the Midnight Raven, and this is True Crime with Raven. Today we're looking at part 2 in the case of couples who go to Lovers Lane and unfortunately end up murdered. Ooh, one of my two favourite things, coupling and murder, and you can put the two together and it makes a recipe for a serial killer. So today we're looking at Lovers Lane. This is part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, I will link it. In part 1 we meet Kathleen and we meet Rebecca, two lesbians who unfortunately had gone to what they call Lovers Lane and ended up having their throats cut, their throats slit and cut, and they were also strangled. Ooh. So there is a serial killer possibly on the loose, or there is a person possibly targeting lesbians, and we're going to find out today. So, moving on to part 2 of the case. So, schoolgirl Robin and David met at an arcade. Ah, how sweet. On the 19th of September 1987. Later that night, Robin snuck out to meet David again. Oh, we've always all snuck out to meet a boy or a friend, haven't we, and broke curfew. Oh, the good old days. And the pair drove to a spot on the shore of the James River. Isn't that nice? Very sweet. At some point in the early hours, while parked in his car, they were ambushed. Robin was shot in the back of the head. Robin was shot in the back of the head, while David received an additional bullet to the shoulder. He had made an attempt to escape and ran out of the car before being gunned down. So that would mean that the girl was attacked first, possibly, or the man was shot first, then the girl was attacked, and then because the man didn't go down, he then had a second shot while he was trying to run after the girl had been shot. It's a very easy case to work out. So, David had been shot, and Robin, bless her, was shot in the back of the head. So unfortunately, Robin would die, while David received the additional bullet and had tried to escape.
I don't know that.
As in the previous murder, a window had been rolled down on their car once again, suggesting that it had been a police officer or an authority figure, but there were no signs of sexual assault. But from there, the details differ. So, there were no signs of restraints on the wrist. On the previous case, if you haven't seen the previous case, they said about marks around the wrist, which would suggest maybe they were tied. This one showed no signs of restraints on the arms. There was no indication that the killer had subdued the victims anyway, so they hadn't been detained or tied up. David's truck was found separate to the bodies in the parking lot, which meant they'd been ordered to get out of the car. So at some point, someone had come to the car, ordered them to get out of the car. They'd obviously rolled down the windows to maybe a police officer or a passerby. They'd got them out of the car. They'd taken them to somewhere else within the area, and the car had been left parked. So the car itself still had the radio on, so it looked like they had just rolled down the windows and been told to get out. Obviously, Robin was shot, and then as the man David tried to escape, he was shot again. He was shot twice. So, like I said, David's truck was found separately, and officers posed the theory that the couple had been asked to get out of the car and had been moved away from the car and shot or gunned down, as the case may be. After their bodies were found, it was clear that they had been moved to a different location by the river, meaning the murders were kept to the Colonial Parkway. what happened on the road connecting to the pathway still remains a little unlooked into. Whether they had been ordered to get out the car, why he took them away from the car, maybe to a different area. Maybe he was trying to make out that this was two separate things. I don't know. It seems weird he didn't just get them out of the car where they were. So the two cases were linked by the police because of it being two couples that were on Lovers Lane. Aside from the first couple, if you haven't seen the first video, being a lesbian couple, it only took half hour to drive between the site that the lesbians were killed and this site. So who was ever killing these people was working in a select area. So a third couple would also be killed. So the third couple remains an anomaly, removed from the others for one reason, that their bodies have never been found. So Richard and Cassandra had attended a party that evening, and before leaving and going home, they decided to go to this quiet Lovers Lane area, as you do, to have a little bit of canoodling. So both students had been at university, they'd gone to this party, and then they'd gone out for the evening, and then on the way home they decided to stop off. The next day, a few miles from the scene of the first attack, most of their clothing worn by the students was found inside their car, along with Richard's wallet, Cassandra's purse, and they ruled this out as the cases not being connected. It seemed too close to where the first attack happened. Then you had the second attack nearby, and then a third one. So because the couple had left their wallet and their purse, it seemed unlikely that if you were going to be two runaway teens, that you would leave money and stuff like that in your car. So the fact that this was a first date, I doubt they planned to abscond together on a first date. It would seem a very unbelievable scenario that a couple went on a date, went to a secluded area, and then just disappeared off the face of the earth to give up on a first date. A little suspicious, with the fact that their purse and wallet was in there, and then it was in the same area as not one but two targeted, if you want to call it targeted, attacks on couples who were in their cars. It's a little sus, mind you. But the police couldn't rule out that maybe this guy had kidnapped this girl because they were on a first date. You do find some weird people on the internet who do abscond and they do kidnap girls on a first date. And you do get some women kidnap men on a first date. It does happen. Things like Tinder, Snapchat, WhatsApp. It's a very dangerous web of testosterone and estrogen. And, some men get a bit more, and so do women. And unfortunately, sometimes you do get those kind of people. But this seemed a little bit more strange than just a couple had gone on a date and suddenly they'd disappeared. So it did seem to spring to mind that all of these couple targeted murders, for whatever reason at this point, still remained a mystery. And you're going to find out in part 3 what happened, who did it, and why. Because, Raven loves a mystery. So this is True Crime with Raven. Give it a big thumbs up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on this case. Were the 3 cases connected? Do you think they're separate? Could the teens really have run away on a first date? Sounds crazy, but stranger things have happened. So this was True Crime with Raven. Check out tomorrow for part 3 to find out exactly who is killing these poor teen lovers. And I will see you tomorrow. Take care and thanks for watching. Bye, guys.